pool water turned electric blue in an instant, and Karen Morrison's perfectly styled platinum blonde hair was about to become a canvas for the most spectacular revenge a 12-year-old had ever orchestrated. What started as innocent splashing would end with screaming sirens, a neighborhood in chaos, and one woman's entitled world crashing down in the most colorful way imaginable. Sometimes karma comes in a bottle of pool dye, and sometimes it's delivered by the smallest hands with the biggest hearts. The late afternoon sun blazed mercilessly over Willowbrook's most coveted community pool, casting shimmering diamonds across the chlorinated surface that had become a battleground nobody saw coming. Maya Chen adjusted her designer sunglasses and watched her 12-year-old niece, Lily, execute a perfect cannonball that sent spray cascading in every direction, including toward the immaculate poolside setup of Karen Morrison. "Lily," Maya called out, suppressing a smile as her niece's head popped up, dark curls plastered to her scalp, grinning with pure joy. "Maybe dial it back a notch, sweetheart." Karen Morrison, however, had already risen from her pristine white lounge chair like a vengeful goddess emerging from Mount Olympus. At 45, she carried herself with the kind of manufactured authority that came from years of HOA meetings and PTA power plays. Her platinum blonde hair was teased and sprayed into submission, her makeup applied with military precision despite the sweltering heat, and her white designer cover-up remained miraculously spotless until now. "Excuse me," Karen's voice cut through the lazy afternoon chatter like a fire alarm. "Excuse me." Maya felt her stomach tighten. She'd seen this look before: the pursed lips, the flared nostrils, the way Karen's manicured fingers curled into claws. It was the look of someone who'd spent her entire life getting exactly what she wanted, exactly when she wanted it. "Is there a problem?" Maya asked, sliding gracefully from her own chair. At 32, she was used to handling difficult clients in her marketing firm, but something about Karen Morrison always made her feel like she was 12 years old again, being scolded by the meanest teacher in school. "A problem." Karen's laugh was sharp enough to cut glass. "Your little brat just soaked my entire setup. Look at this." She gestured wildly at her chair, where a few droplets of water had dared to land on her pristine white towel. "This towel is Egyptian cotton. Do you have any idea what this costs?" Lily paddled closer to the pool's edge, her brown eyes wide with confusion. "I'm sorry, lady. I didn't mean to. Don't you dare speak to me." Karen whirled toward the pool, pointing a perfectly manicured finger at Lily like she was casting a curse. "Children like you have no business in a place like this. This is a respectable community pool, not some public splash pad for little animals." Maya felt heat rise in her chest that had nothing to do with the summer sun. "Watch how you speak to her." "I'll speak however I please." Karen's voice climbed higher, drawing the attention of other pool-goers. "I pay $1,500 a month in HOA fees to enjoy some peace and quiet, not to be assaulted by your wild child." "She's just swimming," Maya said, her voice steady, despite the fury building behind her ribs. "That's what pools are for, swimming." Karen laughed again, the sound becoming more unhinged by the second. "That wasn't swimming. That was a deliberate attack on my personal space. Look at my hair. Look at my makeup." Maya glanced at Karen's appearance, which remained frustratingly perfect despite her claims of being attacked by pool water. Meanwhile, Lily had pulled herself halfway out of the pool, water streaming from her small frame as she stared at Karen with a mixture of fear and indignation. "Your hair looks fine," Maya said carefully, and Lily apologized. "Maybe we can all just—" "Fine." Karen's eyes bulged. "Fine. Do you see this frizz?" She grabbed a strand of her bone-straight hair. "I just came from Salon Magnifique. This blowout cost me $200. $200 for a blowout." The voice came from behind them, tinged with disbelief and barely contained laughter. Maya turned to see their neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, approaching with her twin grandsons. At 70, Elena Rodriguez had the kind of weathered wisdom that came from raising 6 children and burying 2 husbands. Her silver hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore a faded floral one-piece that had seen better decades. "This doesn't concern you, Elena," Karen snapped, but there was less venom in her voice. Even Karen Morrison knew better than to fully unleash her fury on someone with Mrs. Rodriguez's reputation in the neighborhood. "It concerns me when you're screaming at children." Mrs. Rodriguez replied calmly, settling her grandsons at a nearby table with their snacks. Miguel Carlos, stay here while Abuela handles this. Karen's jaw tightened. That child deliberately splashed me. She's 12, Mrs. Rodriguez said. She's supposed to splash. That's what children do in pools, not when it interferes with other people's enjoyment. Maya watched the exchange with growing fascination. Karen Morrison, terror of the Willowbrook HOA, seemed to shrink slightly under Mrs. Rodriguez's steady gaze. But then, Lily's small voice cut through the tension. "I really am sorry," she said, her chin trembling slightly. "I didn't know I couldn't swim normal." Something in her niece's voice, the confusion, the hurt. The way she said swim normal like it was a foreign concept shattered Maya's last thread of patience. "There is nothing abnormal about how you swim, Lily," Maya said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You swim exactly how a 12-year-old should swim." With joy, Karen's face flushed red. "Don't you lecture me about children? I've raised 3 successful adults, while people like you let their kids run wild. People like me." Maya's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "You know exactly what I mean," Karen said, her voice dripping with implication. "Single women who think they can just show up with their sister's children, and Karen." Mrs. Rodriguez's voice carried a warning that made several other poolgoers look up from their conversations. But Karen was beyond listening now, her composure cracking like ice under pressure. "No, I'm tired of this. Tired of pretending this is normal. This used to be a respectable community before people started bringing every stray child. That's enough." Maya stepped forward, placing herself between Karen and the pool, where Lily still clung to the edge, tears starting to stream down her face. "It's not enough," Karen shrieked. "I want them gone. Both of them. They don't belong here." The pool had gone completely silent now. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Children paused their games. Even the lifeguard had turned to watch the spectacle. Maya felt the weight of all those eyes, the judgment, the whispers that would follow. But more than that, she felt Lily's silent tears and the way her small shoulders shook with each sob. "Come on, sweetheart," Maya said softly, reaching down to help Lily out of the pool. "Let's get you dried off." "No," Lily's voice cracked with emotion. "I didn't do anything wrong. I was just swimming." "I know, baby, I know. She's mean." Lily pointed at Karen with a trembling finger. "She's really, really mean." Karen crossed her arms triumphantly. "Maybe now you'll think twice before letting her behave like a little savage." Maya froze. Behind her, she heard Mrs. Rodriguez suck in a sharp breath. Around the pool were pulling their children closer, their faces reflecting various degrees of shock and disgust at Karen's words. "What did you just call her?" Maya's voice was barely audible. "You heard me," Karen said, apparently oblivious to the way the entire pool area had gone silent. "Children need discipline. They need boundaries. They need to learn that their actions have consequences." Maya turned slowly, her hand still supporting Lily, who was now crying openly. "You're absolutely right, Karen. Actions do have consequences." Something in Maya's tone must have penetrated Karen's self-righteous fury because she took a small step backward. "Good then, maybe, and you're about to learn that lesson in a very memorable way." Karen blinked, confusion replacing anger. "For just a moment. What's that supposed to mean?" Maya smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "Lily, honey, remember that surprise I brought for later? The pool color powder for your birthday party next week." Lily's tears slowed as she looked up at her aunt with confusion. "The what? The special powder that turns pool water into rainbow colors? It's in my bag right over there." Maya's voice carried clearly across the silent pool area. The kind that's completely safe for swimming, but takes weeks to wash out of hair, especially chemically treated hair. Karen's face went white. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me," Maya said, her voice deadly calm. "Lily, would you like to see what happens when pool color meets a $200 blowout?" And that's when Lily Chun Morrison smiled for the first time. Since Karen Morrison had opened her mouth, it was a smile that promised chaos, justice, and the kind of revenge that legends are made of. Karen took another step backward, her designer flip-flops slipping slightly on the wet concrete. "You can't be serious. This is assault. This is what happens," Maya said, nodding toward her bag. "When you call a 12-year-old child a savage for swimming in a swimming pool." The pool held its collective breath. Karen's platinum hair caught the late afternoon sun like a beacon, perfectly styled and completely vulnerable. And in that moment, as Lily's small hand reached time seemed suspended in amber as Lily's small fingers closed around the innocent-looking packet of pool-color powder. The entire pool area had transformed into an amphitheater of anticipation, with Karen Morrison as the unwitting star of a show. She never auditioned for "Put that down," Karen commanded, but her voice had lost its earlier authority. She backed toward the pool's edge, her designer flip-flops clicking nervously against the concrete. "Put it down right now, or I'm calling the police." Maya stepped closer, her voice carrying the deadly calm of someone who had finally reached their breaking point. "Call them, Karen. I'm sure they'd love to hear about how you verbally abused a child for swimming." "I did no such thing." Karen's voice cracked. "I was defending my right to peaceful enjoyment of this facility." Mrs. Rodriguez had moved closer, her grandsons forgotten as she watched the drama unfold with fascination. "Karen, maybe you should apologize to Lily and walk away." "Apologize?" Karen whirled toward the older woman, her carefully constructed facade crumbling further. "For what? For expecting basic courtesy, for demanding that children behave appropriately in public spaces, for calling her a savage," Maya said quietly, and the words hung in the air like smoke. Several pool-goers gasped. Others pulled out their phones, sensing that something viral was about to happen. Karen's face cycled through several shades of red as she realized her words had been heard by everyone. "I didn't. That's not what Karen stammered, looking around at the sea of disgusted faces. "I was speaking metaphorically." "No, you weren't," said a voice from the crowd. Maya turned to see Janet Walsh, another neighborhood mom, standing up from her lounge chair. "I heard exactly what you said, Karen. We all did. And it was disgusting," added another voice. Tom Bradley, who lived 3 streets over, was shaking his head. That little girl was just swimming. Karen's eyes darted frantically around the pool area, finally understanding that the court of public opinion had already rendered its verdict. "You're all taking this out of context? I was simply trying to maintain standards." "What standards?" Lily's voice was small but clear-cutting, through the adult chaos with devastating simplicity. "Swimming standards. I know how to swim good. My dad taught me before he died." The pool fell silent again, but this time the silence was different, heavier, more profound. Maya felt her heart crack as she watched her niece's chin tremble with the effort of holding back fresh tears. "Baby," Maya whispered, kneeling down to Lily's level. "You don't have to explain anything to anyone." "But she said I was bad," Lily continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. "She said I don't belong here, but my mom paid the HO fees too before she got sick. We belong here just as much as she does." Karen opened her mouth, perhaps to offer some weak defense, but Mrs. Rodriguez cut her off with a sharp gesture. "Enough," the older woman said. "Karen Morrison, you have shown your true colors today, and they are uglier than anything that could come out of that packet." Karen's face contorted with rage and embarrassment. "How dare you? I've contributed more to this community than all of you combined. I've organized fundraisers. I've run the HOA meetings. You've been a bully," Maya said, standing back up. "And today, your bullying ends." She nodded to Lily, who looked up at her aunt with an expression of pure determination. The 12-year-old understood that this moment was about more than pool water and hair. Diet was about justice, about standing up to people who used their perceived power to hurt others, about proving that sometimes the smallest person in the room could deliver the biggest consequences. "Karen," Maya called out, her voice carrying across the water. "Catch!" What happened next would be replayed on social media thousands of times, dissected frame by frame, and become the stuff of neighborhood legend. Lily's arm drew back with the precision of a Little League pitcher, the packet of electric blue pool dye sailing through the air in a perfect arc. Karen's reflexes, honed by years of tennis lessons and Pilates classes, betrayed her completely. Instead of ducking or stepping aside, she instinctively reached up to catch what was flying toward her just as the packet exploded in her perfectly manicured hands. The blue powder erupted like a small bomb, coating Karen's face, her pristine white cover-up, and most spectacularly, her $200 platinum blonde hair. For a moment, she stood frozen, blue dust settling around her like toxic fairy dust. her mouth open in perfect shock. Then she screamed. It wasn't the entitled shriek she'd been producing all afternoon. This was something primal. The sound of someone watching their carefully constructed image literally crumble into colored powder. She clawed at her face, trying to wipe away the blue, but only succeeded in spreading it further across her skin. "My hair," she wailed, grabbing handfuls of her now sapphire locks. "My beautiful hair." The crowd around the pool had erupted into various reactions. Some were laughing openly, others were gasping in shock, and quite a few were recording everything on their phones. Children were pointing and giggling, while their parents tried to maintain some semblance of adult composure. "Oh my God," Walsh whispered, her hand over her mouth. "Oh my actual God." Karen stumbled backward, still frantically trying to brush the blue powder from her hair, when her foot hit a puddle of pool water. Time slowed as she windmilled her arms, her face a mask of blue horror, before gravity claimed its final victory. Splash! Karen Morrison, terror of the Willowbrook HOA, hit the pool water with all the grace of a falling piano. The impact sent waves rippling across the surface, and when she finally surfaced, sputtering and choking, she looked like a deranged Smurf. The pool dye, activated by water, began to bloom around her in brilliant streams of electric blue. Within seconds, the entire shallow end of the pool was turning the color of a tropical lagoon, with Karen at its swirling center. "The pool!" shrieked the teenage lifeguard, finally snapping out of his shocked stupor. "The whole pool is turning blue." Indeed, it was. The dye was spreading faster than anyone could have anticipated, creating swirling patterns of azure that looked oddly beautiful in the late afternoon sun. Children pointed in delight, adults stood in amazement, and Karen Morrison floated in the middle of it all like a very angry, very blue mermaid. "Get me out!" she screamed, thrashing toward the pool's edge. "Get me out right now!" Tom Bradley, despite his obvious amusement at the situation, extended a pool noodle toward Karen. "Grab onto this. Don't just stand there." Karen shrieked as she grabbed the flotation device. "Someone call the fire department. Call hazmat? This is a chemical attack. It's pool dye," Maya called out calmly, "completely non-toxic. They use it for pool parties and swimming lessons. It'll fade in a few weeks." A few weeks, Karen's voice reached a pitch that could have shattered glass. "I have the Henderson Charity Gala tomorrow night. I have 3 HOA meetings this week. I have—" She stopped mid-sentence as the full reality of her situation hit her. She was standing waist-deep in electric blue pool water, her platinum hair now the color of a tropical ocean, her white designer cover-up tie-dyed beyond recognition, and her makeup streaking down her face in blue rivulets. Around her, nearly 50 neighbors were watching, filming, and barely containing their laughter. "You?" She pointed a dripping finger at Maya, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You planned this. You brought that powder specifically." To use at Lily's birthday party next week," Maya interrupted smoothly. "The pool party we were planning to host in our backyard. But you know what? This worked out so much better." Karen's eyes narrowed. "This isn't over. I'm calling my lawyer. I'm calling the police. I'm calling the HOA board. You'll be banned from this pool, from this community, from what?" Mrs. Rodriguez stepped forward, her voice cutting through Karen's threats like a blade. "From standing up to bullies, from defending children, from giving entitled brats exactly what they deserve." Karen turned toward the older woman, blue water still streaming from her hair. "Alina, you can't possibly support I support justice," Mrs. Rodriguez said firmly. "And what just happened here? That was justice." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Several people nodded, others applauded quietly, and more than one person was heard saying about time under their breath. Karen looked around desperately, searching for allies, for someone to validate her outrage. But every face she saw reflected either amusement, satisfaction, or outright contempt. The woman who had ruled the Willowbrook community through fear and intimidation suddenly found herself completely, utterly alone. "This is insane," she whispered, still dripping blue. "You're all insane." "No," said a small voice from the pool's edge. Everyone turned to see Lily, no longer crying, standing with her shoulders straight and her chin raised. "We're not insane. We're just not scared of you anymore." And in that moment, as Karen Morrison stood blue and dripping in the ruins of her own making, Everyone present understood that something fundamental had shifted in their little community. The reign of terror was over, brought down not by lawyers or HOA votes or adult politics, but by a 12-year-old girl with a packet of pool dye and the courage to use it. Karen pulled herself from the pool with as much dignity as she could. Muster, which wasn't much, blue water streamed from her designer clothes. Her ruined hair hung in 3 hours later, the Willowbrook community pool looked like the aftermath of a very specific natural disaster. The water had settled into a stunning shade of electric blue that would have been beautiful if it hadn't represented the complete destruction of Karen Morrison's dignity. Pool maintenance crews worked frantically with chemicals and filtration systems, muttering about unprecedented situations and total system flushes. Maya sat on her back porch, watching Lily color in her notebook with fierce concentration. The girl had been unusually quiet since they'd returned home, processing the afternoon's events in that mysterious way children do when the adult world reveals its uglier truths. "Aunt Maya," Lily looked up from her drawing a surprisingly accurate depiction of a blue-haired woman falling into a swimming pool. "Yes, sweetheart? Are we in trouble?" Maya considered the question carefully. The truth was, Morrison had made good on her threat to call the police, who had arrived just as Maya and Lily were leaving the pool. Officer Janet Morrison, no relation to Karen, thankfully had taken statements from several witnesses and reviewed the security footage. The conclusion was anticlimactic. No laws had been broken, no one had been injured, and the pool dye was completely harmless. But Maya knew that legal trouble and Karen Morrison trouble were two very different things. "We might be," Maya said honestly, "but sometimes doing the right thing gets you in trouble with the wrong people." Lily nodded solemnly, as if this made perfect sense. Mom used to say that too, before she got sick. Maya's heart clenched. Lily's mother, Maya's sister, Sarah, had been fighting cancer for 2 years. The medical bills had drained their savings, forcing them to sell their house and move in with Maya. It was supposed to be temporary, just until Sarah got back on her feet. But the cancer had other plans. "Your mom was a smart woman," Maya said softly. "Is Lily corrected? She's still smart, she's just ... tired a lot." Before Maya could respond, her phone buzzed with a text message. Then another. Then a flood of notifications that made her screen light up like a Christmas tree. What in the world? Maya opened her messages to find dozens of video clips, photos, and text messages from neighbors, friends, and complete strangers. The footage from the pool had already gone viral. The videos were everywhere: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Someone had even created a slow-motion compilation set to dramatic music. The hashtag #PoolKaren was trending locally, and the story was spreading beyond Willowbrook faster than the blue dye had spread through the pool water. Maya's phone rang. The caller ID showed her boss's number. "Hi, Richard," she answered cautiously. Maya, Richard Chen's voice, was barely controlled excitement. "Please tell me you're the marketing genius behind the #PoolKaren phenomenon that's currently breaking the internet. It's complicated." "Complicated, Maya? Do you have any idea? What kind of organic engagement numbers we're looking at here? The video has been shared over 50,000 times in 3 hours. Local news stations are calling. People are creating memes. There's already merchandise." Maya rubbed her temples. "Merchandise, pool justice t-shirts, Karen got served, mugs, even temporary blue hair dye, marketed as karma color. This is marketing gold. Maya, pure, unfiltered, viral marketing gold. Richard, this wasn't a marketing stunt. This was real. Even better. Authentic content is worth its weight in platinum these days. Maya, I need you to leverage this. Get interviews, write blog posts." Maybe even Maya hung up. Her phone immediately started ringing again. "Trouble?" Lily asked, looking up from her drawing. "Different kind of trouble," Maya sighed. "The good kind, maybe, but still trouble." A sharp knock at the front door interrupted her thoughts. Maya peered through the peephole and groaned. Karen Morrison stood on her doorstep, but this wasn't the blue-haired disaster from 3 hours ago. This Karen had been through some kind of emergency beauty intervention. Her hair was wrapped in a designer silk scarf, her makeup was flawless, and she wore a crisp white pantsuit that screamed, "I mean business." But Maya could see the edges of blue at her hairline, and her eyes held a fury that could have melted. "Stay inside, Lily," Maya said quietly. opening the door but keeping the chain lock engaged. "Hello, Karen. Open this door." Karen's voice was deadly calm. "We need to talk." "I think we said everything we needed to say at the pool. Did we?" Karen smiled, and it was terrifying. "Because I've spent the last 3 hours with my lawyer, and we've discovered some very interesting things about your legal status as Lily's." Guardian Maya's blood turned to ice. "What are you talking about? Temporary guardianship, filed after your sister's condition worsened. Very touching, very noble, but also very precarious." Karen's smile widened. "Guardianship can be challenged, Maya, especially when the guardian demonstrates poor judgment and exposes the child to dangerous situations." "You're insane, am I? Because I have video evidence of you encouraging a minor to commit assault. I have witnesses who heard you planning a premeditated attack. And I have a team of lawyers who specialize in child welfare cases." Maya's hands shook as she reached for her phone. "I'm calling the police." "Go ahead," Karen said smoothly. "But while you're at it, maybe you should call Child Protective Services too. Save them a trip." The words hit Maya like a physical blow. She thought of Sarah, weak and fighting for her life in the hospital. She thought of Lily, who had already lost her father and was watching her mother slowly slip away. The idea of losing the one stable home she had left. "What do you want?" Maya whispered. Karen's smile became predatory, a public apology. "From both of you, posted on every social media platform where this little stunt has been shared. A formal admission that you attacked me without provocation, that your behavior was inappropriate, and that you take full responsibility for the damage to my property and reputation. And if we don't, then I file a complaint with CPS tomorrow morning. I have documentation of your unstable living situation, your inability to provide appropriate supervision, and your tendency toward violent behavior. I also have 3 witnesses who will testify that you specifically brought that dye to the pool with the intention of using it as a weapon." Maya stared at Karen through the gap in the door, realizing she was looking at someone who had completely lost any semblance of humanity. This wasn't about the pool incident anymore. This was about power, control, and the total destruction of anyone who dared to challenge Karen Morrison's authority. "You're threatening to separate a sick woman from her daughter," Maya said quietly. "To punish a child for defending herself against your verbal abuse. You're threatening to destroy a family because your feelings got hurt." "I'm protecting this community from dangerous individuals," Karen replied smoothly. "Starting with you." Maya closed her eyes, feeling the weight of an impossible choice. Apologize publicly, humiliate herself and Lily, validate Karen's behavior, and maybe keep their family together, or refuse and watch everything fall apart. "I need time to think," Maya said. "You have until tomorrow morning," Karen said. 9 a.m. sharp. The apology video better be posted by then, or my lawyers start making phone calls. Karen turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Maya, the dye didn't wash out. My hairdresser says it could take months to fully fade, so you'd better make that apology very, very sincere." As Karen's heels clicked away down the sidewalk, Maya closed and locked the door, sliding down against it until she was sitting on the floor. How had everything gone so wrong so quickly? 3 hours ago, she had been defending her niece against a bully. Now that same bully was threatening to tear their family apart, Aunt Maya. Lily appeared in the doorway, her notebook clutched to her chest. Who was that? Maya looked at her niece, this brave, brilliant little girl who had already endured more loss than most adults ever wouldn't, felt something harden in her chest. Karen Morrison thought she could use the system to punish them for standing up to her. She thought she could weaponize bureaucracy and legal threats to maintain her reign of terror. But Karen Morrison had made one crucial mistake. She had underestimated what Maya Chen was willing to do to protect her family. That, Maya said, standing up with renewed determination, was someone who just made a very serious error in judgment. Maya pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts until she found the number she was looking for. Eleanor Vasquez had been Sarah's lawyer during the custody proceedings, a fierce advocate who specialized in family law and had a particular hatred for people who weaponized the child welfare system. "Eleanor, it's Maya Chen. I need your help. Someone is threatening to use CPS to separate our family, and I think they're about to discover that they picked the wrong people to mess with." As Maya explained the situation, Lily settled beside her on the couch, still clutching her drawing. But now Maya could see what she had missed before. The picture wasn't just of Karen falling into the pool. It was of Karen falling while surrounded by dozens of people, all of them watching, all of them choosing not to help. It was a child's interpretation of what happens when someone burns all their bridges and finds themselves drowning in the consequences. And Maya was beginning to realize that Karen Morrison's blue hair was about to be the least of her problems. Eleanor Vasquez arrived at Maya's house at 7 the next morning, carrying a briefcase that looked like it had survived several legal wars and a cup of coffee that could have powered a small city. At 55, she moved with the calculated precision of someone who had spent decades dismantling bullies in courtrooms, and her presence immediately made Maya feel like she could breathe again. "Show me everything," Eleanor said, settling at Maya's kitchen table as Lily ate cereal nearby, pretending not to listen to every word. Maya spread out printed screenshots of the viral videos, text message threads from neighbors, and the documentation of Lily's guardianship. Eleanor studied each piece with the intensity of a detective examining evidence, occasionally making notes in handwriting that looked like it could slice paper. "This woman is either very stupid or very desperate," Eleanor muttered, reviewing Karen's threats, probably both. "Maya, do you understand what she's actually threatening to do? Use CPS to take Lily away from me. She's threatening to commit perjury, file false reports, and abuse the legal system for personal revenge," Eleanor corrected. "Those are felonies. Multiple felonies." Maya felt a spark of hope. "So we can stop her. We can do better than that. We can destroy her." Eleanor's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. "But first, I need to understand exactly what happened at that pool. Every detail, every witness, every word that was said." For the next hour, Maya recounted the entire incident, while Eleanor took notes. Occasionally, the lawyer would ask Lily to clarify details, and Maya was struck by how clearly her niece remembered everything, not just the actions, but the emotions, the way Karen's voice had changed, the exact words that had been used. "She called me a savage," Lily said quietly when Eleanor asked about Karen's language, "and she said I was like an animal, and that I didn't belong there because I was." She paused, looking at Maya uncertainly. "Because you were what, sweetie?" Eleanor asked gently. "Because Aunt Maya isn't married, and I don't have a dad anymore, and we're not like the other families?" Eleanor's pen stopped moving. She looked up at Maya with an expression that could have frozen lava. She said that, in front of witnesses, Maya nodded. The whole pool heard it. "Discrimination based on family status," Eleanor murmured, making more notes. "Public harassment of a minor. Hostile environment creation. Oh, Karen Morrison, you beautiful idiot. You just handed me a federal case." Maya's phone buzzed with a text message. The sender was unknown, but the message made her stomach drop. 1 hour left. "I hope you've been practicing your apology." Eleanor read the message over Maya's shoulder and laughed out loud. "She's texting threats now. Maya, this woman has just made the worst tactical error of her life." Before Maya could ask what she meant, there was a knock at the door. Maya peered through the peephole to see Mrs. Rodriguez standing on the porch, holding what appeared to be a folder stuffed with papers. "Eleanor, meet our star witness," Maya said, opening the door. Mrs. Rodriguez entered with the dignity of a queen holding court, nodded respectfully to Eleanor, and placed her folder on the table with the satisfaction of someone playing a winning hand. "Ladies," she said, "I have been busy." The folder contained printouts of every social media post, news article, and online comment about the pool incident. But more importantly, it contained something Maya hadn't expected: a petition. 237 signatures, Mrs. Rodriguez announced proudly. "Every single one from Willowbrook residents, all supporting you and Lily, all condemning Karen's behavior, and all demanding her resignation from the HOA board." Maya stared at the papers. 230 people signed this overnight. "People have been waiting for someone to stand up to her for years," Mrs. Rodriguez explained. "You just gave them permission to finally speak up. But that's not all." She pulled out her phone and showed them a video that had been posted to the neighborhood Facebook group at 6 a.m. In it, Tom Bradley was speaking directly to the camera while standing in his driveway. "My name is Tom Bradley, and I live at 1247 Maple Street in Willowbrook," he was saying. "Yesterday, I witnessed Karen Morrison verbally abuse a 12-year-old child at our community pool. I watched her use racist language, threaten a family, and create a hostile environment for everyone present. I'm posting this video to make one thing clear. Karen Morrison does not speak for this community. She never has, and she never will. Mrs. Rodriguez swiped to show another video, then another. Neighbor after neighbor speaking directly to camera, recounting their own experiences with Karen Morrison's bullying, her abuse of power, her years of making the community a less welcoming place for anyone who didn't meet her arbitrary standards. There are 17 of these videos so far, Mrs. Rodriguez said, more being posted every hour. Karen Morrison wanted a war. She's got one. Eleanor was studying the petition with professional interest. This is impressive, but what we really need is, her sentence was interrupted by Maya's doorbell ringing. Through the peephole, Maya could see a young woman in a professional blazer holding a microphone, flanked by a man with a camera. Channel 7 News, the woman called out. We'd like to speak with Maya Chen about the viral pool incident. Eleanor and Maya exchanged glances. How do you want to handle this? Eleanor asked. Maya looked at Lily, who was watching everything with wide eyes, then at the petition with its hundreds of signatures, then at the growing collection of support videos on Mrs. Rodriguez's phone. We tell the truth, Maya said. All of it. The next hour became a whirlwind of interviews, phone calls, and strategic planning. Channel 7 was followed by Channel 4, then Channel 2, then a reporter from the local newspaper. Each interview strengthened Maya's confidence, especially when she realized that every journalist was asking the same question. How long has Karen Morrison been bullying residents in your community? Eleanor handled the legal strategy while Mrs. Rodriguez managed the media circus with the efficiency of a seasoned campaign manager. By 9 a.m. Karen's deadline for the apology, Vidya Maya's kitchen had become a war room, and that's when Karen Morrison made her second crucial mistake. She showed up. Maya answered the knock to find Karen standing on her doorstep. But this wasn't the polished, threatening woman from the night before. Her designer scarf couldn't completely hide the blue tint in her hair. Her makeup looked hastily applied, and there was something desperate in her eyes. Where's my apology video? Karen demanded, but her voice lacked its usual authority. Come in, Karen, Maya said calmly. I think you need to see something. Karen hesitated, then stepped inside and stopped dead when she saw Eleanor sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by legal documents. Mrs. Rodriguez, with her phone, displaying the community videos, and a Channel 7 news crew setting up equipment. In the living room, what is this? Karen's voice was barely a whisper. This, Eleanor said, standing up with predatory grace, is what happens when you threaten the wrong family. She handed Karen a folder. Those are copies of 17 separate complaints I'm filing on behalf of the Chen family. Civil rights, violations, harassment, intimidation of a minor, abuse of process, and my personal favorite, criminal extortion. Karen's face went white as she flipped through the documents. This is ... you can't. I was just ... you were just committing multiple felonies while being recorded by dozens of witnesses. Eleanor continued smoothly. The district attorney, he's very interested in your case, Karen. Apparently, they've been getting complaints about your behavior for years. But the CPS report will never be filed, Eleanor interrupted, because filing a false CPS report is a felony, and you're already looking at enough prison time to make your blue hair grow out completely gray. Karen sank into a chair, the folder of legal documents scattered across her lap. This wasn't supposed to happen. I just wanted respect. You wanted fear. The Channel 7 reporter appeared in the doorway. Ms. Morrison, we'd love to get your side of the story. Would you like to make a statement about the community petition calling for your resignation? Karen looked up, her eyes wild. Petition. 237 signatures and counting. Your neighbors want you off the HOA board. Karen, they want you to stop terrorizing their children and making their lives miserable. They want you gone, but I made this community better. I maintained standards. I kept property values. You created a hostile environment, Eleanor said firmly, and now you're going to face the consequences. Karen's phone started buzzing with notifications. Then it started ringing. She glanced at it, and her face went completely white. Channel 2 wants a comment, she whispered, and Channel 4. And, ... Oh God, my HOA president position is being questioned. The board is calling an emergency meeting. She looked up at Maya with something that might have been desperation. I'll drop everything. The CPS threat, the demands for an apology, all of it. Just make this stop. Maya studied Karen's face, this woman who had terrorized her community for years, who had called a grieving child a savage, who had threatened to destroy their family out of petty revenge. She thought about Sarah in the hospital, fighting for her life. She thought about all the other families Karen had bullied over the years. She thought,